Well, Tom Latham. What does John focus on?
Sure, Tom, that seemed like a really complete performance across 5 days. Just take us through that. I mean, especially with what's been a relatively inexperienced squad over the series.
Yeah, I think hit the nail on the head. I think apart from maybe a little bit of end of day 2, I think. Apart from that, I think it was, as you said, a pretty clinical performance in terms of, I guess, how we wanted to operate. Winning the toss, batting first, being able to get 5 or close to 600, as the perfect blueprint really, and then obviously doing what we did with the ball. And I think even the second innings yesterday, being in a position to, I guess, dictate how we wanted to operate in terms of when we wanted to pull out. Guys sort of playing the way that they did, allowing us to get to that position was obviously really pleasing. And then, day 5, turning up today with a chance of a test victory. Things not necessarily happening in the first hour, but we certainly understood if we're able to hang in there for long enough, we knew we'd be able to create some opportunities on a surface that was certainly deteriorating, and we certainly saw that, from some of the dismissals, but I guess also the way that the pitch was reacting. So obviously very pleasing to finish like that, and a nice way to finish the test summer.
How much is this a marker for you and Rob Walter? Because we saw at the start of the test, you looked like you were pretty forensically focused on that pitch as to what your decision would be in the decision to bat. Looking ahead from here, what does that mean in terms of that relationship and with the team as well?
Yeah, I think that was probably the trickiest, probably team selection in terms of the balance, in terms of how, what we wanted to do, what we thought was going to be probably harder on day 5 versus, day 1. And I guess you probably look at the surface and you probably look and say it's probably a bowl first, but, from the information that we had, we knew it was certainly going to deteriorate. And I guess, you look at it now, it was probably the right decision in terms of, certainly bowling last on day 5. But obviously we managed to set that up nicely with the bat in terms of how we operated in that first innings. I think it's all well and good winning the toss, but and batting, but obviously putting the score that we did on the board was certainly very pleasing. And for a venue that we haven't played a lot of cricket at, a venue that's certainly different to Hagley in the Basin and Hamilton as well. To come here and adapt to a different surface is obviously certainly very pleasing.
You set the tone with those runs, but I'm probably as much interested in just Jacob Duffy's performance, both in the 4th innings there, but also across the series, and also AJ's getting the call up and delivering.
Yeah, I think Duff's been fantastic throughout. Obviously, performance or the numbers speak for themselves in terms of, in the wickets column, but I think more pleasing from my point of view that I think it's the attitude that he's brought into these test matches. Certainly the second innings at Hagley onwards, being a couple of bowlers down there, as we know, but then to keep running in, all day at Hagley, and same at the Basin, and then certainly same here, to keep running in, managed to hold his pace throughout the whole test. He was certainly hitting the gloves pretty hard, even in his last spell, which is what you want. Certainly would, I heard him say before, captain asked you to bowl, and he's not going to say no, but the attitude that he brought to certainly to the series is really pleasing, and certainly one for him who's sort of waited his time to play Test cricket. He's been around the group for a long period, and probably hasn't had the opportunities, from certainly from the bowling stocks that we've got. But for him to then put his hand up, when we certainly need him the most, was really pleasing. And AJ's, as I said, it was a tough decision in terms of the balance that we wanted to go with for this Test match. But I think the way he was able to operate, certainly in the first innings where he managed to get a couple of important wickets, but yesterday and today to be able to bowl down that one end pretty much the whole time and create some opportunities was really pleasing. And obviously stoked for him to get his first few polls in New Zealand, but more happy with the way he was able to operate from a team point of view.
Tom, to take you back to this morning when Michael Ray goes down, what's going through your head?
Surely not again. Obviously it's probably been a bit of a theme of the series in terms of a bowler going out or being unavailable for the rest of the game, but obviously credit to the way he bowled and the way he came and bowled an 8-over spell from that end. I think he's a little bit sore now, but obviously having AJ has been able to lock him in down one end, we knew that we'd be able to rotate the guys from this end, and obviously they did a great job, and he managed to obviously get through the Test match, which was pleasing.
Before Hagley, one of the journalists, I'm not sure who, brought up the fact you hadn't scored 100 in a while. You've just gone out and scored 3. I know that you guys don't really put much focus on the individual ahead of the team, but how satisfying for you is it to now be, sitting here with 3 tons in 3 games?
Look, it's obviously that's your currency as a batter is runs, but I've always looked at it as what my role is in the team, and I know as an opening batter that some days it's going to be tricky. Some of the surfaces that we play on, can certainly be challenging. Day 1. obviously new ball, rah, but me doing my role is all I'm sort of after from a team point of view, and if that means a little milestone and a tick in that column, then so be it. But just more pleasing how I was able to build some partnerships with guys at the other end. Obviously at Hagley, 270 I think it was with Rutch and then obviously in this game here, being able to put on a couple of decent ones with Dev was more pleasing, and to be able to put the team in a position, we were able to push for wins is what this group's about, and certainly what I'm about, and obviously pleasing to be able to do that.
You're now 100 behind Martin Crowe, which is sort of the benchmark for any New Zealand batter besides maybe Kane. Does that do anything for you, statistically, to see your name up there on that list?
Not really. Obviously, to be, I guess, around those numbers with those sort of guys is, I guess, pretty humbling. But look, if that comes down the line, then that's great. But I guess to be put in that position with the likes of those guys is pretty special. And as I said, it's not the way that I tend to operate in terms of how I approach things. But if I can keep contributing to this team, keep putting in some performances and that push for wins, then I guess that's what this game's about, really.
The margin of victory, 323 runs, is the exact same number of runs you and Devon put on day one. I'm sure it's sort of just one of those coincidences, but is that sort of a cool feeling between the two of you?
Yeah, obviously we've spent a bit of time out in the middle together, this week, which has been really special. Yeah, as I said, more pleasing from a day one point of view to win the toss, and then to put the group in that position was probably the most pleasing thing, and I think even yesterday, the way we were able to, I guess, absorb a little bit of pressure, before lunch, and then when it came time to put some pressure back on the West Indies in terms of push for a declaration, and we knew there was still a lot of hard work to do, but I guess to do things slightly differently from the first innings to the second innings shows the way they're able to adapt, to the surface. So obviously a really special week for both of us. There's obviously some cool stats that have been thrown out there, but certainly enjoyed the time we spent out in the middle together.
Tom, just to go inside the first morning and the night before, the first morning when you and Rob were out here, I think 9 o'clockish, you had a Stephen under your arm. And what were you really thinking, I guess, a day earlier when you were sat here talking to us, and what was that discussion about on that first morning? And were you aware that no Black Caps captain had batted first at home for such a long time?
No, certainly wasn't aware of that stat. But yeah, as I said, it was more the balance of the side, which was obviously going to dictate in terms of what we did at the toss. If we obviously went for the extra seamer, then bowling first is obviously the smart way to go. But I guess if you do play a spinner, hoping that he comes into the game in the last innings is obviously the way to go. So, I think it was more the gut feel in terms of what we thought was right, and pleasing that we took a little bit of time to come up with that decision, and obviously paid dividends, throughout the last couple of days.
Yeah, I guess when you were sitting here the day before the match, and then when you walk out there with Rob and you're looking at the pitch, were you already sort of leaning towards AJ as playing spinner, and it was just confirmation, or what was the sort of thought process in the discussion?
I think it was probably more I guess you get different opinions around, what people might think, but I think it was just, probably the gut feel that we both had in terms of, AJ's was our man. We knew we were able to hopefully plug him in from one end and rotate the guys from the other end, and I guess it's a slightly unique situation in terms of a venue that as a bat first, whereas you head round the rest of the country where it is a definite bowl first. So good decisions, good discussions that we had, but it's obviously all well and good picking a spinner, but I think the work AJ's did for us, to obviously get the rewards that he did today, and as I said, he bowled at that one end for all bar 3 overs, I think. So obviously really pleasing for him to do that at home.
Is that the most you've had to think about things pre-match since you became captain?
Yep, definitely. But I guess that they're all great discussions to have. We've obviously had a lot of, been faced with a lot of adversity this series with injuries and different guys going down, and what's right, what's the best thing for the group, and and certainly guys have been putting their hands up when different guys have been away or been injured. So it's only a good thing that we're building more experience into these guys, and I'm sure in the future there's going to be some more discussions from a team point of view. But they're all good problems for us to have.
Just on that first morning, around that toss decision, I heard Daryl and Christian having a chat out there and talking about how they thought it would round off. Christian obviously wanted to play his debut, but I mean, was he involved in any of these discussions? I'm guessing not as a rookie, but But what did you make of the way he reacted and I guess his knowledge of this game?
Yeah, we actually asked him what his thoughts were on, or how the last first-class game that was played here. He obviously gave us his thoughts. He's played a little bit here, but I think from our point of view, I think it was more the grass coverage more so than the colour of the grass. We knew it wasn't as thick as what we've had here in the past, so I think that certainly leaned to obviously batting first. And but yeah, as I said, it's all well and good batting first, but I think then putting ourselves in that position where where you do the hard work and put close to 600 on was, as I said, probably the most pleasing thing.
You and Devon had 100-run partnerships in each innings. Second time New Zealanders have done that. Do you know the first week?
My mum actually told me this, but I think it was Mark Greatbatch and Dad. So I didn't know what she was saying, but yeah, obviously a cool stat to have as well.
Is that a brag that you'll be able to take with you?
He's only got me with one thing, which is a five for Dad, so I'm not sure I'll be getting that.
You even think about having a bowl out there?
If I was going to bowl, it probably would have been a Higley.
Jacob Duffy, you would have played against him in first-class cricket for a very long time, and his development over his career has been pretty extraordinary. Everyone's talked about how he worked for a year to change his action and get a few extra clicks. What do you make of that? The professionalism, I guess, that's taken from him to do that, but the path that he's taken.
Yeah, I think I've said it before. I think the strides that he's made, certainly since he, has been playing international cricket, he's certainly made his every post to winner, whether it be, in the shorter form or Test cricket. I think the more he's played, the more he's been able to adapt to the challenges that have been thrown at him. I think from a pace point of view, that's probably the most pleasing thing for him is he's managed to, he's clocking that 140 pretty consistently. We've always known he's had the ability to swing the ball, but I think his ability to bowl the wobble or three-quarter ball, however they want to refer to it as, I think he's developed that really nicely, and and I think to then be the leader of the attack over the last couple of weeks, I think he's really taken that in his stride, and he's been great for us. Whenever he's been asked to bowl, he's running hard. He's bowled bounces, he's bowled the areas that we've asked him to, and I feel like every time he's been given the ball, he's managed to pick up a wicket for us. So really stoked for Duff. Certainly proud of the effort that he puts in, certainly over, I guess, the last probably 2 years to then get this opportunity at Test cricket, and then to then put the numbers on the board, and what he's done for us as a group has been fantastic.
Have there been times over the past couple of years where you faced him in nets or in a game and just been surprised about how heavy the ball is?
Probably more this summer, I think, in terms of keeping to him in the shorter form games. I guess you get a good indication of how it's coming through, and certainly seen that from behind the stumps and the white ball or ODI cricket, which has been great. So I think from a personnel point of view that we've had in the group, when we've got a fully fit attack, he obviously hasn't had the opportunities because of the personnel that we've got, but I guess now he's made every post a winner, and there's going to be some great chats coming out from a selection point of view, which is great.
Yeah, so looking forward to next year and these amazing tours that are coming up. How excited are you at the prospect of the options you might have for this pace attack? It seems quite fearsome if everybody's available. Yeah,
I said that a few months ago, that I guess the personnel that we would have, and we've been faced with the challenges of certainly injuries throughout the last few weeks, and I guess the last probably 6 months in terms of the bowlers. So I think you get everyone on the park. There's some amazing options there. We've got a lot of variety from whether it be pace point of view, bounce point of view, being able to move the ball laterally, whether it's in the air or off the wicket. So obviously, really excited about what's coming up. Obviously, there's a decent break now between Test matches, but hopefully get everyone fully fit, and there'll be some great conversations.
What does the next sort of 6 months look like for you as leader of the Test group? Like, I know there's white ball cricket, but do you get to, I guess, maybe switch off a bit, not having to lead that side?
Yep, definitely. Switch off. I guess in the lead up, there's always conversations going on around what preparation looks like from a Test point of view. Obviously next is England. We're going to have a lot of guys at the IPL, so for us it's about trying to form some plans that when that finishes, that guys are ready to go from for that series over in England. So obviously what we've got coming up is really exciting. It was always for us about focusing on these three Test matches, trying to do this really well, and then obviously the focus shifts to some series overseas, and then obviously a really exciting summer here in New Zealand / Australia next summer. So for us, it's always about learning, evolving. I think there's been a lot of growth for this group, certainly from a personnel point of view, and we've got some nice markers there now in terms of how we want to operate, and if we can keep improving from here, then hopefully that will, I guess, leave us in a good position to keep giving us some opportunities to keep pushing for results in the future.
On looking ahead to that future, Kane talked last night about his availability sort of being a series by series decision for him. Presume you'd love him to be in England. Do you feel like he'll be in England at this stage?
Yeah, as you said, series by series for him. He certainly would certainly love him to be there. I think the experience that he brings to the group, the calmness that he brings to the group, but also the hand that he gives me, certainly out in the field, he's a great one to lean on. He's obviously been involved in this group for long periods of time. He's seen the development of this group, from where it maybe was when he first started to where the group is now. He's seen a change in the group over many years, but he's such a key player for us in that number 3 role. So, we'd certainly love him to be there and hope he's there, but we'll just keep having those conversations, as you said, series by series.
It's sort of maybe a little running joke that Kane doesn't actually understand what he's given to the game in this country. Are you able to just put that into words, or so you sort of just understand? I guess the numbers speak for themselves. We all know that he's not a numbers guy. That's not the way that he likes to operate, and it's not the way that he likes to play his cricket. But I think from a team point of view, once he took over from Brendan, I think the development the path that he took this group on in terms of how we wanted to play and why we wanted to play has been such a key part in the development of the group. And obviously we're trying to continue that from my point of view anyway, in terms of how the group wants to operate. But as you said, he's obviously one of New Zealand's, probably the greatest New Zealand cricketer. To play for us and to be able to share some moments with him along the way is